Hey there everyone, it is Cyberpunk time. Patch 1.2 is finally out, and it's time to check out the performance on the RTX 2070 after, well, it's been at least 2 months since the last time I touched a Cyberpunk, being early January I assume. So it's been quite a long time, and I heard that this patch is huge. And it was actually huge. It was a 28 gigabyte update, so one could assume they addressed a lot of the issues. But did they actually? That's what we're gonna figure out. So I'm gonna go through the settings, the graphics settings, and we're gonna jump right in and play. So settings, graphics, as you can see, we have motion blur on high, we have context shadows, facial lighting, geometry, everything. This is not maxed out. Oh, it is. Okay, so the only thing that's not maxed is the screen space reflections quality, which by default sets itself on ultra when you change your graphics settings to the highest preset, and we have the LSS on quality instead of performance. So we're aiming for the best visual quality possible on 1080p basically. So oh yeah, I forgot to show that. So 1080p, full screen, no VSync. So welcome to Night City after quite a long time. Oh, so apparently the damage doesn't... Oh my god, this is kind of cursed honestly. It used to reset before, but at first glance, I don't see much of a difference. I mean, what am I expecting? I mean, it's just... Apparently, it fixes, like, a lot of holes in the campaign, like issues with the missions and stuff. So, inside missions. But I hope they also did take into account, like, the performance issues that the game had, which are many, of course. So let me get in. So far, frame rate's okay. Oops, never mind. Forgot what I said. Low 60. We got 58 actually. Just briefly though. Quite a stutter. That was strange. And we have no traffic whatsoever. Like, this looks like a main road, and it's the same problem as before. Like, they render out in the distance, but once you get close to them, they actually vanish. Some of them. Okay, so 74 using 98% of the card, 42% out of the CPU. That's a great figure. Let's see. Gotta drive a little bit more. Oh, I know what is the problem. I'm recording to my hard drive instead of recording to my external hard drive, so that might be causing the frame rate issues. Actually, never mind, my external hard drive is blinking. I changed the setting. Forget about it. 75, okay. 60, nice. So performance actually improved. Because I remember from driving in the city, I was getting like 60, 65, we're getting 74 now, 10 more frames. That's great. It's substantial. I mean, honestly, quite impressive. And, I don't know, it seems like the traffic was sort of nerfed and the number of, like, the amount of people. Like, the NPCs were cut in half or something, because I don't see anyone. I don't know if it's because of how late it is. Actually, what time is it? I don't have a clock. Could be early morning, could be early night. What the hell is happening here? I mean, anyway, not like it matters. But yeah, the amount of NPCs is sort of underwhelming. I don't know what's going on here. It seems like they all vanished. It must be COVID, right? I mean, it's definitely COVID. People were staying inside and avoiding to go out, and because they said like no gatherings, so probably they really took it to the heart. They're not going out. Okay, we had the first major frame drop from 75 to 62. That was okay. Enough driving. I guess it's just about on the car, which is, oh god, it's not in good shape, is it? And let's walk around a little bit, because I want to see how the game behaves on foot, because we barely had time to actually just, walk and appreciate the city. But yeah, I can tell that it's using the CPU a lot more than before. If there's one thing that's doing better is CPU usage, which is a good thing. I mean, this is more CPU, use more frames, technically. On paper, that's what it's supposed to do. Does it actually do that? Don't know. Well, right, so 76, not bad. NPCs are still as unaware as ever. As I mentioned, like my first benchmark, the first Cyberpunk video I made, I mentioned that NPCs were completely unaware of your presence. They could care less. They're always walking like weirdly. I mean, look at that. What the hell is going on here? Like, why are they so weird? So they do not react to your presence, basically. It's like you're not there. You're just a camera spinning around, and it vibrates to emulate, a sense of motion and stuff. Oh, you're actually a person. But NPCs are like, no, they do not consider you as an actual individual. They just ignore you as if you're just an object, a camera, or whatever. Which kind of ruins the whole thing for me, honestly. Like, it would be nicer if they actually, had some sort of like interaction, like, oh bro, move out the way or something, or bro, you're weird, you're looking weird, I don't like your clothes. They could make it so that you react to like what you're wearing, your hairstyle, I don't know, something like that. To make it so like you feel more like you're a part of the city, because that, as it currently stands, it's like, it's just a scenery. Everything's just a background for the story. Which, I mean, it's an RPG, so that's kind of the point, but also you want that immersion. You want to feel like you're part. What the hell is this guy wearing? Oh my god. But still, you want to feel like you're part of it, And you don't have that connection with the city, with the NPCs. It's like it's just the scenery, it's just a background pane, and everything else, doesn't really do much, It's nothing but a background. And you want to feel that connection. You want to be part of Night City. You want to feel like an actual citizen, But nah, you're just there. You're completely and utterly unaware of the fact that you're walking around. But yeah, it seems to me that they tampered with the density. Like, it's not as dense as it once used to be. And I do understand why they've done that. I mean, for performance reasons, because the NPCs are very demanding. But then again, it doesn't feel like a massive city anymore, because a place like this should be booming, like busy, but we are actually getting like, what the hell? Is that a floating bag? Oh, nice. Yeah, so patch 1.2, we've waited for a long time, and we still have things like that. And we just had that guy spawning in right in front of us. So patch 1.2, it's been, they had 60 days to bring something to the table. Have they actually? No. Like, this is actually unacceptable. A floating bag. a floating bag, that's within like what? I assume I don't have the OBS overlay with me now because I have only one panel, so I don't know for sure. But it seems to me that we got less than 10 minutes of video, and we've witnessed two major issues already: the floating bag and a guy spawning right in front of me. Like, what the hell was that? And we're dipping below 60 already. I was hoping it wouldn't happen anymore. I was hoping that at some point they would fix it and make it so like the 2070 would be able to get at least above 60 all times with this reset 1080p. I'm not even asking too much. I mean, it's 1080p, for God's sake. But no, look at that. We're dipping. It's bottlenecking because, as you can see, the GPU is not even close to 100%. We're 76% usage. So like there's a bottleneck here. It's not a RAM bottleneck because I got more than enough. It's definitely not the RAM. It's not a CPU bottleneck where it's 52%. And the GPU is not being fully utilized. Like, what the hell? I would assume that at this point they would address that, but no, it's still there. It's still there. This is infuriating. Like, actually infuriating. Look at that, 56. And now suddenly there's a bunch of NPCs. Like, I was walking around here at first, there was no one. Now it's like booming. It's flocking with people. It's like they all went out their houses. Like, oh, suddenly there's no lockdown anymore. Let's just walk out. That's what it seems to be. And then obviously performance is tanking because NPCs are the cause of that tank partially. Because, you know, back when no NPCs were around, I mean, next to non-NPCs were around, we had a solid frame rate. I mean, it was not solid per se, but it was not below 60, and suddenly we're below 60. So clearly the issue here is the NPCs. So they're taking a lot of system resources, but for what? For what? Because like they are dumb. They do not notice your presence. They do not care that you exist. They're completely unaware of what is going on. So like they are not complex NPCs by any extent, and still they seem to be tanking the frames like massively. As soon as you get to a zone without that many NPCs, it gets right back to normal, right back to acceptable numbers. So clearly they are the problem here with the frames tanking. Places with a lot of NPCs. Oh, look at that guy just spawned. The guy literally just spawned in front of me. What the hell is that? How is that acceptable for a 2020 game, a AAA, a so-called AAA? Like, I don't understand. How could they actually mess up that badly? I mean, I was very defensive at first because I do understand the situation. I mean, we're going through a pandemic. It's a tough one. It's hard. They had to release the game. Look at that. The girl just glitched through the floor. Like, what the hell is that? I mean, yes, they had to rush the game, rush the release, and it was broken at first, but hey, we've given them more than enough time, and still, I would say it's worse than ever, because I played this game from start to finish. Look at that, guys clipping through as well, look at that. And I played it from start to finish, and despite the performance issues, I didn't have any sort of clipping, any sort of floating things. And now, just within a couple minutes, I've witnessed a lot of that. People just spawning in front of you, clipping through the scenery, and that's just within a couple minutes. Like I had not witnessed. Look at that. The guy's legit clipping through the oh my god, look at that. He's just clipping. What the hell? I've never seen that before. Like I played this game for like 50 hours. I went through the whole story mode. I didn't see once. Like, I didn't see that happening once. And now the so-called holy patch that was gonna fix everything and bring Cyberpunk to that level that we were all expecting it to be, apparently it did mess up things more than they were already messed up. Like, perhaps they did address performance, because I did see an increase before the NPC flocking, but I did have a higher average at first. Now it's just back to the usual awfulness. But at what cost did that increased frame rate come? Because, I mean, clipping, spawning out of nowhere, floating things, floating bag. Like, at what cost did that actually come? I'm a little concerned. Like, I'm actually a little concerned. Because did they actually fix, or did they break it more than it was already broken? Because, I mean, it was playable. You could play through the entire story and stuff without major issues. I mean, I did play through the story, didn't have any issues, like game-breaking issues. Nothing actually happened other than frame drops, which were annoying, but, you know, I just played it through. So initially I was very defensive, but now, like, they had more than enough time to fix whatever was broken. But apparently it's just made worse at this point, and I don't know what to say or what to expect. Honestly, I'm very disappointed with what I've seen so far. Like, okay, performance got apparently better to an extent, but at what cost? I mean, if you're gonna fix performance, but as a way to compensate for that, because if you know, it's a sort of balance, you gotta keep that balance. So you fix performance, but something breaks, it's the price you gotta pay. But this is more than broken, honestly. Like, the clipping, that's not acceptable for a AAA. Not acceptable at all. I mean, for an indie game, that's understandable. You can look at that and think, okay, you know, they're a small team. They are trying their best. They're working hard to make a game that people can enjoy and play through the whole campaign without issues. But this is a AAA with like $100 million budget, and it's broken. Completely, utterly broken. I'm disappointed, honestly. I really thought that they would actually fix this. I really imagined that they wouldn't let their fans down after, you know, all that happened. I mean, it was a sad situation at first. They didn't really have an option. They were pressured to release, and they did so even though it was broken. They cut a lot of features, like the shooting range, which was shown on Reddit. Like, they had, you could pick the gun, you could, you know, the whole interface for it was basically done, but it, you know, the range itself was locked. I mean, it was a feature that was gonna be in the game, and it was cut. The trains and stuff were cut as well. They just cut a lot of features that would have made the game a lot cooler. I mean, I'm not saying, like, okay, do not cut stuff. I mean, I understand it's a tough situation. Once again, you gotta make decisions. Sometimes things do not turn out the way you want them to turn out, and that's normal. That's okay. Things do go wrong, but if you're gonna cut stuff, at the very least, with the bare minimum that you have, with the bare acceptable minimum that you have at your hands, just make sure it's not broken. Because if you're gonna deliver something, a half-assed thing, just make sure it's playable and it's acceptable, in a sense that you're not going to be seeing NPCs just glitching through the scenario or floating stuff, which is beyond acceptable at this point for the kind of product it is and the amount of time they had. Because if it were an early access title, that would be okay. And what makes it even worse is that the first patches, although very broken in their own right, they didn't have that. They didn't have the clipping. I didn't witness any of that. And now I'm witnessing that. Like, what? Weren't they gonna fix it? Like, they made it apparently worse? I don't know what to say. I mean, okay, getting 75 now among crowds, it's very nice, very satisfying to see that. But on the other hand, though, like I wish I could be doing that consistently, and more importantly, so without glitching, without things, you know, without people walking through walls and stuff that it seems to have become like the de facto with this game. Disappointing. Really, really disappointing. So I think that's it for this video. I've walked enough, I've driven enough. There's just so much one can say about Cyberpunk at this point, and you know, the way to sum up the whole state of patch 1.2 at this point is underwhelming, disappointing, sad. I don't know anymore. I mean, they had enough time to just fix the most alarming things. I mean, they cannot fix the entire game within 60 days. That's understandable. They cannot make something that was already a mess into something acceptable. I knew that, but they could have at least made it like not as glitched as it was, so that one could play through the entire game without having to witness such absurdities. But apparently, nah, that was not possible, and that's very sad considering they were highly regarded, you know, as developers. I mean, they made The Witcher 3, which was very nice, despite having its own issues as well. But it was a very solid game, and Cyberpunk is anything but that. You know, it's just not solid enough. It is, I mean, I won't say I hate the game, I won't say I hated it, because I had fun playing it, but it's just not what they, you know, what they promised. That's the problem. You know, it's not that the game itself is bad, it's just not the Cyberpunk that was sold to us through videos. And it gets more evident every time. Like, I was very defensive at first, because I imagined, hey, they're gonna fix it, you know. They realize they've made a mistake, they deserve a second chance because they never screwed up before, and I'm pretty sure they won't let us down. And instead, they did just that. They let us down for the second time. And I'm not sure if I have enough patience for that. I mean, that was an expensive game, you know? And I don't feel like I had my share of fun, you know, with it. Like, campaign was underwhelmingly short. The story's so damn short. I mean, I finished the game within 40 hours. I didn't even rush. I mean, I wasn't doing the sidecast, but I wasn't like rushing through it. I wasn't trying to speed run or anything, and even so, it was so short. The end, I was like, what? Did it actually end already? Is that everything? Is that honestly everything we have? Okay then. Very disappointing. I was very sad. I mean, for the price you pay, the amount of story you get, the amount of gameplay you get, and all the bugs and weird issues you have to deal with, at this point, it's just, they should be paying you to play it, honestly. Like, it's gotten even more broken than it was before, so I don't really know what to say here. It's like, I mean, it's basically what people have been saying all along. CDPR just let us down. Sad hours. Sad gamer hours. Very disappointing gamer hours. But yeah, so this is the benchmark of patch 1.2. Very underwhelming, in my opinion. Not the performance itself, but the fact that the game is still broken after all of that. And we'll see you guys whenever I decide to try this thing again. Perhaps when they release another patch, patch 1.3, perhaps 1.5, I don't know, whatever they call it. Let's just hope they finally fix this thing. Look at that NPC spawning like right in front of you once again on background, not even from far away. They were not that far away, like 50 meters away. That's not fair enough. That's not far enough to spawn NPCs. Like, they gotta do it right. If you're gonna spawn NPCs like that, just make them, you know, magically appear. Just make it so it's from very far away so that you cannot see that happening right in front of your face, because that just ruins the whole immersion. You want to feel like you're in a city with real people, not like, you want to forget it's a game, and the game keeps reminding you that it's a game over and over and over and over and over again with that weird behavior. With the weird NPC behavior, with the weird NPC spawning behavior, and all the other weirdities that this game offers. Like, what the hell? Sorry. I shouldn't be that angry at a game. You know, perhaps it would be better if I were to yell at clouds instead, like every decent old man. But, yeah, goodbye everyone. I hope you all had fun, because I didn't. And see you guys in the next video, hopefully soon. It's definitely not going to be about Cyberpunk, because I'm just about done with this. How do I close this game? I forgot. I'm just about done with Cyberpunk. Cannot take this anymore. Bye bye.